In this video, the journey continues through Denmark, where we will visit some locations rich on history, and I'll get to photograph sunbeams. This place is just amazing. You wouldn't think that a place like this existed in Denmark. The sky just goes kaboom! We are now moving from the southwestern part of Jutland and the Wadden Sea to the southeastern side of Jutland and the island of Els. The island of Els and the mainland next to it is historically rich with old forests and towns, areas with dolmens and castles. As per always, there is no chance I got to cover all of it. Els is located in the former Duchy of Slesvig, and the significance of Slesvig lay in being the buffer province of Scandinavia and the Danish realm towards the powerful Holy Roman Empire to the south, as well as being a transit area for the transfer of goods between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. So we come down to a cute little lighthouse called TAKSENSAND TAKSENSAND lighthouse. And yeah, according to the weather forecast, I was promised the most epic sunrise in the history of mankind. But that didn't happen. Yeah, there's like medium wind, medium waves. The beach is a little bit, half boring. So I gotta admit, having walked around here, I am struggling a little bit with finding something of interest to photograph. So I have a few ideas that I think I will try out though. So instead of trying to go for something epic or big or out of this world, I'm just trying to calm it all down. I have moved further back, zoomed in, placed Sophie in the scene, and now there's actually also a fisherman who have come into the scene. I think I will clone him out. Position Sophie in the scene and making sure that the lighthouse is not too distorted. That's the main reason why I've come back. And then simply just making like a long exposure. So just trying to capture this super calm morning. I do have a little bit of texture in the clouds. I'm not sure how much I can pull out of it, but yeah, just to get something super still. Nothing fancy, just super still. So that first place might have been a little bit underwhelming, I think. Didn't really get a proper sunrise, and yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you like that shot. Right now we have come a little bit further west, it must be, in this quite really nice forest. There's a lot of autumn colors. It's just not really like, having that atmosphere. Hopefully tomorrow morning there will be some fog. Right now, one of the photos that I actually had in mind coming down here was a shot at this location here. So you can see we have all these very tall beech trees, and then having Sophie standing right here, and then more trees. The problem is just that the trees out here all the leaves have basically fallen off, whereas compared to further in the forest, it's not really an issue. So yeah, at least the good thing about photographing in Denmark is I can always come back without too much of a hassle. But I will have to wait until next summer for this to work, at least according to what I wanted. I don't know if it will work out. You will see the edit in just a moment. But yeah, it's still like nice and calm. And in the end, the most important part when we're out here is that it's just nice to be on an adventure again. Like the 2 episodes I just made were without Sophie, and I just enjoy being with her on these tours. So it's so nice. That's the best part of landscape photography. Obviously, when you run a business, you also want to like come home with a decent product. But in the end, at least for me, when I'm out on photo tours, it is more fun to travel with her. And it is the journey of landscape photography that's the most fun in the end. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't really do it. So I guess that is the most important part. So as I mentioned, this here is actually quite a big and very varying, beautiful forest. And right now I am in a location with a lot of oaks. And these oaks are called, well, directly translated from Danish, bridegroom oaks. So technically it's probably just groom oaks in English, brudgomsegene in Danish. And all these oaks have such an interesting history because they were planted back in the 1700s. When young people wanted to get married, they had to plant 15 oaks and take care of them for 3 years before they were allowed to get married. Yeah, old Danish laws. And the reason for this was that the king needed oak for his armada, for the ships. Denmark was the 3rd largest seafaring nation back then, just after England and France. And we basically lost everything after we betted on Napoleon. Some decades later. The English with Lord Nelson in front came, bombarded Copenhagen, took our pride, and then we also had a new problem, even more oaks we had to plant. But this is like before that, so back in the 1700s. So all these huge oaks, big oaks, are actually somewhat up about like 300 years old. And they have like this nice history. And ironically, right now that walking around here, I really want to photograph them. But they are not really that interesting in and of themselves, because they are like, they don't really have so much character as some other oaks can have. So right now I'm just walking around trying to find a composition, and I did find one, and I had Sophie in it, and I think that one worked out. Like the conditions are completely not for photographing right now. It's way past sunrise. The sun is far up, the shadows are fairly harsh, but shooting against the light, there's still a little bit of atmosphere in the air. I think I got a shot which were pretty decent, half decent. But yeah, this is definitely a place where you want to go when there's a little bit more foggy conditions and maybe a little bit more leaves on the trees. But yeah, super interesting place being here, knowing that these trees were planted for a reason 300 years ago. This photo surely ended up being my favorite from this morning, which goes to show you can get great photos out of the golden hour. If you struggle with composition and landscape photography, be sure to get my ebook and the follow-up. They are designed to be easy to read and have loads of examples. You can get both of them via the links in the description of this video. We drove around on Els exploring a few different locations I had prepared. The first was the small forest NØRRESKOVEN, which contains the largest collections of dolmens in the north. These dolmens are up towards 5,500 years old. We also visited the park area around the castle of Augustenborg, which surely has some photography potential. In this park you will find one of the only sequoia trees in Denmark, which reminded us of our fantastic tour through the US. There are many other places to see on Els, but at this time of year the days are short and the sunset was approaching fast. So, speaking of history, there is one place down here where we are right now that is like a 5-star location in regard to historical significance for Denmark. Everyone who lives in Denmark have heard about this place. Everyone. It's called DYBBØL Mill, and the mill is over here in the background. Photographed it yesterday. I got some pretty good photos there. I don't think I'm going to get anything better today, so I'll put them up afterwards. But this place is just, in and of itself for photography, it's not really that special. But this old military complex here was built by the Prussians after the terrible year for the nation of Denmark, 1864, where we got our asses handed to us by the Prussians. We actually had been in wars with them first, where we had won, but this one here, that was just like the end of it. This was the last time Denmark as a nation was in a one-on-one war with another nation. Of course, Second World War has been there since, and First World War too, for that matter. The Cold War and all sorts of other coalition stuff has been there. But one-on-one, this was the last time Denmark was in a war, and we lost. And it has actually meant quite a lot for Denmark and the Danish culture. It was like 5 minutes to midnight for Denmark as a nation. We were so close to becoming incorporated in the German Reich, which is good that we didn't. But I don't think many Danes actually know how historically significant this place is. All of us have heard about it, but just how important it is and what it signalizes is, it's quite important. So I really wanted to visit this place for a very, very long time. I did actually end up getting a photo of the mill this evening, but it was completely unplanned, improvised and photographed from several kilometers away. Actually so far away I had to use my 2x extender and photograph at 800mm. From this perspective, the few clouds that were lit up by the post-sunset light took up all of the frame and made for a gorgeous photo. As mentioned, I got a couple of photos the day before, however I didn't have time to vlog it as the sun only peeked out very short and there were a little too many other people around that I had to dodge to get the photos. Besides the photos of the mill, I also got this one in the opposite direction, where a lone tree stood out against the beautiful evening sky. So it is just before sunrise and we got fog. Sadly not really that much in the forests that I hoped for. So yesterday I decided to come to this forest instead. It's called GRÅSTEN. Well, it's part of GRÅSTEN forest. There's a lot of small forests that have many different names, but GRÅSTEN forest is like the main name, I guess. And the fog is not supposed to linger for too long. So right now it's basically just walking around and reacting to whatever I find, because I've never been here before, and usually I prefer to have been to a forest before and find some potential compositions before I go. But yeah, as I haven't been here before, it's just walk and react and shoot. So after a lot of walking, I found the first composition, and it's just a fairly young oak tree that I'm just shooting straight on. There's not much to it. I've put on the long lens, f14 in this case. I could probably shoot at f11 too, or something lower. ISO 100, and the shutter speed with these settings is 1/6 of a second with a neutral exposure. I could overexpose it a little bit and bring it down in post-production. But yeah, pretty simple, straight on. I think that's it. Let's move on. Alright, so just moved a little bit further ahead, and basically completely the same concept. This time just with an old oak tree. So we have it here, and I'm simply just photographing the part there in the middle. More or less the exact same settings. Aperture priority, f11, ISO 100, 1/6 of a second shutter speed. Easy peasy, straight on, super simple, super beautiful, super moody, and super atmospheric. So this area where we are right here is actually full of all these thorn bushes. And I usually don't photograph the intimate nature stuff. However, there was a pattern that I wanted to try out, and I actually think it works. So it is on this bush here. Just zooming in with the long lens to this part. And I actually think, I'll just turn it on here again, that there's something here. Quite cool. And as you can see, settings wise, simply the same. Like f11, ISO 100, 1/13 of a second, aperture priority. So now a little bit of fun is starting to happen. So I've the entire morning thought that the fog might evaporate quite fast because I've had blue sky. I can literally see the moon just up there, just above me. So the fog is very much at very ground level. However, that's a good thing when the sun comes up, because then it starts, of course, to throw its sunbeams very strongly down through the canopy. And that's exactly what we have right here. It looks very, very beautiful. It's not like, you know, for this specific photo a whole lot of context other than it is sunbeams through tree branches. But it still looks really, really pretty. Just straight on, and the sunbeams just comes straight into your face. Very nice, very pretty. I like this shot, I think. So I think I may have found my favorite photo from this morning, and it's an old oak. I have a little bit of fog in the foreground. I have fog in the background, yet you can still see the trees in the background, and then I have the most beautiful golden side light on the tree, using the long lens, zooming almost all the way in, and it is just so pretty. And in regard to the settings, again, super simple. Aperture priority f11. I have to focus stack this one to have the tree in focus and have the immediate foreground in focus too. So 2 shots, f11, ISO 100, 1/13 of a second at 300mm. Easy peasy. So good. I think this might be my favorite. So it's actually the first time in this series of photographing Denmark that I'm photographing in a forest. But obviously, if you have seen my Tales from the Forest series, you will know that we have quite a lot of forests in Denmark, so I haven't really emphasized them too much in this series. And the thing I've kind of learned is that more or less all Danish forests look alike. However, almost in all cases, they also have like little section or one single tree standing out, or yeah, something that is really worth photographing. It's basically just about going when the conditions are great. A morning like this is fantastic. Foggy conditions, sun coming up, creating sunbeams. Yeah. So even though this is a completely new forest that I haven't explored before, I'm pretty confident that I will come away with something worth showing. So here is actually another shot I really like. So we have these 3 young beech trees, and then we have the sun lighting up behind them, lighting them from behind. And they're standing among all these taller beech trees. Looks really, really cool. And it's kind of ish in the same theme as some of my other young beech tree photos. This is just an autumn version of it. So yeah, aperture priority f16, ISO 100, shutter speed is whatever it is. And then I got help from Sophie to push another small beech tree just to the side. So she just pushed it out of the way, just in the same way as I usually do myself. And then I just put it on 10-second timer and take the photo. But yeah, it's nice to have a helping hand. It's fun. By now I think that this entire section of this video from this forest could have made it out for an entire episode from Tales from the Forest. But yeah, you'll just have it here. Another shot here, straight on, simply just shooting along the road here, and all the way down there we have some sunbeams coming in from the side. You can of course see the sun up here coming in, and using the long lens I can zoom into something like this here. I got something quite similar just up the hill here behind me. I'll put that one up too. Quite a nice morning. The fog has kind of evaporated, but there's still high humidity, so we still get the sunbeams. Looks pretty. After having spent about 3 to 4 hours in GRÅSTEN forest, we decided to call it a morning. I try to get a newsletter out each week with notifications on my videos and other relevant stuff, such as special offers on my tutorials and workshop announcements. If you have subscribed to the newsletter but do not receive it in your inbox, be sure to check your spam or promotional folders. It does happen that many newsletters find their way to those. If you can't get enough of my crispy voice, this week's newsletter will contain links to a couple of podcasts I've recently participated in. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, there is a link in the description of this video. Upon subscribing, you'll receive the free light version of my first ebook. Speaking of which, if you want to learn more about composition in landscape photography, be sure to get my ebooks. And if you want to learn how I edit my photos, be sure to enroll in my post-processing course, Photoshop for Landscape Photographers. Getting my products is the best way to support my channel and making sure I can continue making these videos, as that's how I make my living. There are links and a coupon code to the post-processing course in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video, and in the next one I'll present some famous locations from my home region of Denmark I haven't shown yet. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll greatly appreciate a like and a comment.